could be us.
Live.
Alright, cool.
Take it away.
Friday night, we're on with Mr. Ian Black. What's up, Ian?
What's up, Ian?
Oh, you're looking at it.
Yes, we are looking at it.
I don't know.
Sorry we had to start a little late, man. You already know what's going on.
Technical
and all that.
Oh, I'm not that damn important.
Yeah, we're very untechnical too.
I noticed that.
Right. Yeah, we're doing this shit as we go. You know, we're learning.
As we do.
Yeah, for sure. So you're an pretty interesting guy. You got a YouTube channel. You're funny as all get out.
You're trying to figure out how to not use cuss words.
Yeah, I'm
trying to filter. See what you did.
Yeah. The Cecilia filters over there.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I'm trying to be a good boy.
You need a bleep board.
Oh yeah.
You need one of those old-fashioned bleep boards that they had on live TV.
Yeah. Beep beep beep.
Those exist?
Yeah.
Wow. No shit.
During live television, did you ever wonder how they would bleep out? They weren't pre-recorded.
Really?
They had a guy sitting there, and he would watch mouths, and as soon as it looked like you were about to form a,
Really?
Boom.
slap that beeper on you.
It's not battery powered, is it?
You're thinking of a different kind of beeper.
Oh, okay.
Nick, you would totally just burn one out. It wouldn't last. It would last.
Oh no, they would get
one.
one of those
Well, that's why I said a
drinking.
battery.
They would get one of those drinking birds.
Yeah.
With the little water in the bottom. So
Oh yeah.
and they would just put it on top of the button.
Yeah.
Well, hell yeah.
Redacted.
So Ian, bro. So talk about a little bit about you know your recovery story, man. I know that you posted and you said that 2001 was the beginning of your journey, right?
It was.
Oh.
So I was born in a manger. No, I'm joking. I was born in September of '85. I was the product of massive amounts of cocaine and massive amounts of whiskey, and I grew up in a less than ideal childhood. It was a bad life. There's no way to sugarcoat it. There's no way to pussyfoot around or beat around the bush. I had a very bad childhood. Breathtaking amounts of physical abuse, isolation. When I was 4, my right eye got ripped out of its socket, and the trauma from that, my parents, my mother, and my grandmother, because my father decided that he would be better served elsewhere. By that trauma, they decided that the best way to ensure that I never got hurt again was to remove the option of getting hurt. So I was no longer allowed to go outside. So for the next 9 years, I just lived in this house. And my entire life was school, the school bus, and the kitchen or living room of this house. And my grandmother was a hoarder, and so we had boxes everywhere. There was a walk path to the kitchen, there was a walk path to the bathroom. And it was not ideal. And school was rough, a lot of social alienation. Very early on, I was a big reader. And when I was 6, I read the entire 1968 Encyclopedia Britannica, just because there was nothing else to do. I had anger issues, which, what the hell? All right, I'm not doing this G-rated shit. I'm not saying what the hell. I'm not going, oh my goodness. Fuck that.
Fuck that. Okay.
Hell yeah.
The fucks have been let loose.
I had a fucked off childhood, and I mean none of our listeners are G-rated.
No.
If they're in AA, we're not G-rated.
They're addicts and alcoholics now.
And so, and there was not a lot of instruction at the house on how to be socially adjusted. There was a lot of screaming, there was a lot of hitting, there was a lot of fighting, and so I just learned early on, you just shut the fuck up and read. You isolate, because you can't get hurt if you don't interact.
Yeah.
And that loner mentality is something that I still kind of work with, because more often than not, you'll see me hanging off to the side. don't have it's not super easy for me to dive into my Uber Eats is on the way.
Tell them to come upstairs.
Well, somebody has to let him in. But
Where's the door?
yeah, she'll be downstairs in a second.
Jeez.
And so it's right about 12. Now my using history is a little weird. My mother was an addict, and she struggled. She had all kinds of struggles, but I'm not telling her story. I'm telling mine. She lost custody of me when I was 8, and she fought tooth and nail to get me back, even though it was not a good idea. And so I ended up living in motels and traps. And for the listeners who are unfamiliar with what a trap house is, it is a unregistered house that people live in and sell drugs out of.
They get high there too, right?
No, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? You don't do drugs in a trap house.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't want to ask that question.
Of course
I
they
was
do
holding
drugs.
it back.
Of course they do drugs in a trap house.
You know?
Okay, yeah.
And so, no, of course they do drugs in a trap
On a
house.
front lawn? Come on.
And I was spent a good number of my years as a kid watching my mother get beat to shit by one 5-minute father after another.
5-minute father, wow.
You had one Captain Save-A-Ho with a crack pipe in one hand and a needle in the other arm, thinking that he was going to change my world. And they always did change it, just never for the better. That old thing. I told you my drugs would take you places. I never told you they would be places you wanted to go. And CPS finally got involved because I was living at the Astro Inn, which, if you're from Houston, you probably know what the Astro Inn is.
Absolutely.
It is a less than reputable establishment. In fact, the best Google listing that I ever found for it, so the Astro Inn actually has a rating system. I was blown away. It's like 1 Brillo pad, 2 Brillo pad, 4 Brillo pad.
4.
So we always stayed in the 2 Brillo pad room because we were poor.
Yes!
Yes. The pusher.
Yeah.
Yes.
And long story short, the school that I was in, Reagan High School, I think they changed the name. They noticed that I was wearing like the same clothes for days and days and days. And they called CPS, and the CPS sent a caseworker. She didn't even need to take a look. I told her what the address was, and this was before Google Maps. So we just followed the street, going down Cavalcade, and pull up, and you see the Astro Inn, and you could tell the look on her face. She was like, "Oh, no, nah, you're done." And so she put the notice on the door, and all of a sudden I was a ward of the state, which would not be the last time that I was a ward of the state of Texas. And then I got shuffled around foster homes and emergency shelters. So a lot of people don't understand how the foster care system works. It is a clusterfuck. It is an absolute nightmare. It's a disaster. It's not designed well. And it's executed even more poorly. When you are on a ward of the state, if you don't have family that can take you, which I did not, they will shuffle you around from an emergency shelter to another, which is usually like a house, kind of like a sober house, kind of like an Oxford house, but it's designed and licensed by CPS. And they just shuffle you in there. And you're in there with 24 kids, all of whom are in the same situation you are, and there's no definitive time. You don't have a chance to establish relationships. You're not going to school from an emergency shelter.
It's like a Lord of the Flies kind of situation.
Oh yeah, no, it's every man for himself.
Yeah.
And I was lucky. I was able to get into an actual foster home. Like, this was where I live now. That was a block away from the house I grew up in, which is kind of weird. And I found a joint on the ground at this gas station on Bayland and Houston Avenue. Bayland and Houston Avenue. There's a little gas station. And I looked down and I knew what it was. And I was like, huh, sure. Now, mind you, I'm like 14, never smoked weed, never drank. Sort of like a late starter.
Red Man and Method Man, how high was out then, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm going to say yes. Yes.
They had the biggest bong.
It was 1999.
That's how I knew.
It was 1999.
Okay.
So, and this guy.
Hey.
He's a wild card.
Yeah, you gotta have him.
Yeah.
You have to.
And so I snuck back to the house, and my grandmother lived, like I said, a block away. And CPS had set it up to where I could visit her whenever I wanted, because she was getting on in years. She wasn't going to be alive much longer. And so, at 14 years old, I told my foster family that I was going to go visit my grandmother. I walked straight past my grandmother into the bathroom of the house that I grew up in and smoked weed for the very first time. And this is probably my Uber Eats.
All right.
Yeah, just answer it.
This is Ian.
We get real.
Why not?
Are you downstairs?
He already went downstairs.
Yeah. Look for a guy wearing look for a guy wearing blue rubber gloves, wearing a black coat and a bucket hat.
And a Bucky's hat. That's the description. He's real anxious too down there. Probably pacing in the lobby.
Do you want to go run interference?
Yeah, sure. I got it.
Yeah.
Oh, did you get it?
Just go. Back to your seat. Come on.
You got it?
Go here.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well, I took his phone.
Onward.
This is a nice phone, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Thank you. Sure. Well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, and it was like out of half baked.
Yeah.
They say you don't get high your first time, but we did. We got really, really, really high. And my
You didn't
father.
see an old James, did you?
No. But I did read the back of my eyelids for what felt like 18 hours. And my foster father was a cop. Not only was he a cop, he was the cop. He was the guy that ran against Adrian Garcia for the sheriff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Paul Day was his name.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there in the living room of this foster home, feeling the earth rotate. And he walks in uniform, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yes." And he gives me that look that I know you're not. I know you're fucked up on something. And he told me to go to my room, and that was that. I didn't use again for another couple of years. But that moment,
Remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll never forget that shit.
I was totally screwed, because that was a love at first type of relationship.
Took away your problems.
Yeah. Well, it became a solution
Yeah.
over time. And fast forward a little bit, I met my biological father. He was pretty well to do, so I switched schools to Lamar, and I got thrown into a thing called Cornerstone. My opinions on Cornerstone are outside of the scope of this podcast.
What
So,
is Cornerstone?
It is an alternative peer group,
Okay.
similar in the vein of PDAP.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to say about Cornerstone.
All right.
Okay.
Fair enough, man.
But I did meet a bunch of good and bad people there. All good people, but not all of them were good for me. I drank again when I was 17, and then I said I have a problem and I need to get sober, having no idea what getting sober meant. I remember my very first AA meeting. I was at the Delta Club, and it was on Harwood in August of 2001. And I saw the steps on the wall, and by the end of the meeting, I'd worked all the steps. I mean, what else is there to do? I mean, you read the steps, you've worked them, now you go about your business. I did not know that there was more to the process than that. And the same problems that I had growing up were the exact same problems that I had in early recovery, because there had been no recovery. It was just early dryness. And it was rough. But I managed to start getting invested into some AA clubs that had really good, solid recovery. The White Oak Group, Primary Purpose, when it used to exist, it doesn't exist anymore. And I don't know, man. Fast forward a little bit, there were a bunch of relapsing, and there was this old cantankerous piece of shit that used to go to White Oak, and he said, "You can't relapse if you ain't worked the steps because you never recovered in the first place." And I didn't know what he was throwing. I just thought he was throwing shade when I was younger. Looking back, he's right. I see guys come off the streets, moving into these sober homes, and then they end up drinking, and they're like, "Oh man, I relapsed." And I was like, "What, did you work the steps?" "The what?" And I was like, "You didn't relapse, bro. You just do what we do." and ended up going to prison. A little bit of fast forwarding. Ended up going to prison, and there had
If you
been
don't mind, yeah.
possession of controlled substance. So yeah, any future employers, you got.
Me too.
I'm not worried about that. And we'll get to why shortly. There were a couple of short stints of sobriety here and there. A year here, a year there, 6 months there, 6 months there. Lived at the men's, back when it was the men's center, lived at the men's center a couple of times. Lived on the streets for years.
Whereabouts? Fifth Ward area?
No, I'm a high-class crackhead. I lived in the Montrose.
Oh, damn it. Damn it, that was the start for me, all right? I was trying to... Hell yeah.
And finally, it came to a head in February of 2009. I had a crack pipe that I had stashed in the bushes, and I'd went and done some actual honest work for somebody, and they paid me, and I knew that I had to go over to Third Ward to score, or Fourth Ward at the time. I had to go to Fourth Ward to pick up.
High class.
High class. Yeah. And in my head, I knew, don't go get it. Just leave it alone. You go to Fourth Ward, you buy your dope, you get it on the way back. Nope, because I had to use the moment I picked up. And if I have to walk all the way back from Fourth Ward, that's another 10, 15 minutes between me and my dope, and that ain't gonna happen.
Right.
That is an inexcusable thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I picked up the pipe, put it in my wallet. Put it in my wallet. Those foldable crack pipes.
Velcro?
Yeah. Like those bendy straws. But for crack.
Oh, shit.
And I jaywalked right there at Hyde Park and something else, some other street. And out of nowhere, this cop car materialized out of the ground. And yeah, dude, that's the sound it made.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop. And I said, "Sir, why don't you come over here? You crossed the street illegally."
Oh.
And I'm looking at him going, "You cocksucker. Fuck you. You know what you're doing."
Right.
And I did not know this at the time, but they did not have probable cause to do a search. It was a jaywalking ticket. But not knowing is whatever.
His keen senses were telling him one thing.
Yeah. And so they did it, they found it, and I got arrested for possession of a controlled substance. And I went back and forth between the probation and failing probation, one bad UA after another. And ended up going to Pam Lynchner State Jail, less than a gram pound.
Hell yeah.
I don't know if it gets a hell yeah from me, but...
It doesn't sound like a hell yeah to me.
Could be good or bad, it doesn't matter.
But I made some choices. when I was locked up. I remember when I was on the transfer bus from Harris County to the jail, or to the state jail, and I have a tattoo on my wrist that says 577-416. The story is irrelevant, but there was one of those dump trucks. And the serial number on the dump truck, I remember like for the rest of my life, was AA4577416. And I looked at it, and I had one of those smiling chuckle moments, and I was like, all right, God, I get it. AA4, this number. Okay, I get it. You're cute. And when I got out in 2010, I knew that things needed to change. And I met somebody, I met a couple of good people, and I got established, and I got sober. But my priorities were still way off. Everything was more important than my sobriety. I had to get married. Well, that didn't last long. I had to have kids, because those were what was going to fix me. It was always this external thing that would fix my internal problem. It was always the marriage, the car, the job, blah, blah, blah.
Sounds too familiar.
We are not that unique. And would you mind handing me that tea?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So, bro, it's tea time.
It is tea time.
Yeah.
All right, girls, gather around. It's tea time. And
Where's the
Crosses?
Yeah. Do we have any scones?
Yeah. You got two of them.
I did. One for me and one for me.
Hell yeah.
Hey, it's Friday. We're going loose.
And had 2 kids, got divorced, Did a lot of experimenting, did a lot of fucking around with things I never thought I'd fuck around with.
Yeah.
And fast forward to, we'll just fast forward through a lot of shit. Because my actual story takes more than the time I'm allowed.
Right, you're allowed tracers.
What is it, Vietnam or the Gulf War when you're watching the bullets sing?
Yeah, those are tracers.
Yeah.
I got a laugh, not a wild card laugh either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Jerry.
And it was November 3rd of 2019. I'd moved into this warehouse studio over in East Downtown. I'm never going to call it Edo. Never going to call it that in my life. It's East Downtown. If you're too fucking lazy to say that, just give up.
Yeah.
And
Don't try to be trendy.
yeah. They're all reformed crack houses. Come on. And this person that I had brought along with me into this warehouse ended up doing some nefarious shit. Pulled a couple of fast ones on me. Got a fairly firm spot on my four-step. And I ended up on the streets. And I'm walking downtown at 3 in the morning. This backpack on my shoulder that had everything I owned. It had my laptop, a pair of pants, some blankets, and I just said, fuck this. I'm done. And it was one of the most profound moments of my life. I was walking to go buy dope because I had money. I still had weed on me. I was going to go buy some clear. And in one step, I was on my way to go buy dope. The very next step, I was done. I was done. The desire to use was taken away.
That switch in your mind had been thrown. Yeah.
Just like that.
I mean, literally, just like that.
Bam.
I was on 1 second, I was done the other. And I'd experienced that one time before. And I knew from that experience this time that if I didn't do something with this feeling, it was going to go. And I was going to be right back to the races. And so I made a phone call. And I was a bougie fucking crackhead that night, dude. I had a cell phone. I was doing Facebook Live talking about how fucked over I'd been and how I need to be vindicated. I was high as a kite.
Oh, man.
And train wreck post, bro.
You had a window of opportunity at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the eyes are the gateway to the soul, and mine needed some Windex. Actually, that metaphor makes no sense, because if you spray ammonia in somebody's eyes, they're going to go blind. Anyway.
Yes, they are.
Who's got contacts?
Yeah. Well, no, then they're definitely going blind.
Yeah.
I made some phone calls, and a buddy of mine in the program, he has like 10, 11 years. He called, he got back with me, and he said, here, I'm out of town. This is weird. There's no way he didn't know that I was out there ripping and rolling. There's no way that he didn't know I was calling for help because of that. So I was not like the person you trust with your house. But he said, my spare key is over here. I'll be back in a week and a half. Food is in the fridge. Just like that.
I'll let you right into his home.
Let me right in. And from November 3rd, I started going to the meeting. I made a promise, not to anybody else, just this was a commitment that I had to make to myself. I was going to make the same meeting every day. Whether I enjoyed the meeting, whether I got anything out of the meeting. Maybe it wasn't about what I get out of it. Maybe my inability to stay sober was a symptom of me being so goddamn selfish in the first place.
Yeah.
What do I get out of this? Never thinking about what I bring to it.
Amen.
Never thinking about what I can contribute, but only what I can take. And I see that attitude a lot in recovery. Well, I didn't like that meeting. I didn't get anything out of that meeting. Well, what did you do on the whole meeting? Were you on Facebook the whole time, or were you listening to these people?
Your ears were shut off.
Now, there are bad meetings. I'm not going to bullshit.
Yeah.
I've sat in some meetings where I'm like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, I've heard this story. This is the 4th time this week I've heard this story.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah.
But that's not the point. And so I started going to the 12:15 Post Oak every day. I have an opinion about Post Oak, keep it to myself. I enjoyed that meeting. There are good groups of people everywhere. And so I started going to that meeting. I sat in the exact same chair every day. I made it a point to become a staple because it dawned on me, those people that you see in meetings for 30 years, they always sit in the same spot, they always share the same thing, but they've been sober and happy for 30 some odd years going on. That's because they sit in the same spot and they do the same thing to stay sober every day. You start establishing these new habits to supplant the old ones. I got back with my old sponsor, we started working the steps. I started getting sponsees. I just had a guy message me right now asking if I'd sponsor this guy. And that's a tear-jerker moment for me because not only do I go out looking for sponsees, but someone thought of me
Highly enough of you
to reference me for this random person that I don't know. And in the course of the time that I've been sober, I've gotten everything back that I've lost, especially the weight.
The back problems.
Yeah, no. That's when I decided I need to start dieting recently during this COVID-19 thing.
Yeah.
Because got to make a quick segue. Coronavirus is real. It's not 5G. It's not caused by Bill Gates. There's no fucking conspiracy theories. Wash your fucking hands. Wear your PPE. If you can quarantine, do so. And don't watch Fox fucking News.
Yes.
All right, carrying on.
I agree, man. I totally agree, man. I am so tired of hearing coronavirus conspiracy theories. I want to just squeeze people's throats.
Yeah.
Can't do it. But anyway.
There is a bed on the back of the theater, though. Just saying.
Well, no, I mean, it's not about the 5G, bro. The 6G is what the lizard people are using from their moon base.
Oh, yeah.
That's Area 51, bro.
No, they're not doing it from the moon base. They're doing it from the Masonic Control Center underneath Denver International.
No, it's in Atlantis, bro, which is also on the moon, which is also filmed under the Denver airport.
Ian,
Anyway,
would you consider yourself spiritually spoiled?
I would consider myself spiritually fit.
They come to you.
But
Going to AA meetings, for me, going to an AA meeting, even if I don't want to, sometimes I hear the same repetitive shit. Sometimes I hear stories that aren't necessarily applicable to me, but it is kind of like a physical act of acceptance. It's that daily reminder that I'm still a freaking drunk, you know.
well, and it's not about me, Papa.
Yeah.
It's not about me. It's about where I'm put to be of use. That's it. When I start thinking about meetings as a commodity, something that I need to consume, I'm going off track. They're not these resources that I'm just there to consume and bounce. Because you know what else does that? A fucking locust.
Yeah.
That's not me. That will be me if I don't stay on course.
But it comes a vessel.
Yeah. I think.
You look like a great vessel, bro.
That's just because I've got a lot of storage
It's nice
space, you
to-
fucking dick.
That's what I was gonna say.
He is the man in black.
He's a transporter.
Do you know why we're all black? There's a
This is your
reason.
last name, maybe?
Maybe you're like, yeah.
My last name's not legally black.
What is it?
I'm not
White?
telling. Yeah.
Got
The
it.
reason I wear solid black is because it's easy. I never have to worry about what I'm going to look like. I wear the exact same thing every day. I have different outfits of the same thing. I don't just like smell like a fucking hog. And that's one of the gifts of recovery is that I can afford, clothes, even if they are the exact same
So
thing.
your closet looks like Ernest P. Worrell's.
Yes.
Yes. That's awesome. I like it.
I don't like worrying about minutia shit like that.
Right.
Where it's like, oh no, am I going to be matching?
What am I gonna wear today?
black.
So we became more and more interested in what we could contribute to life rather than what we could take. Is that where?
Yeah, that's the whole crux. The whole point of the book can be wrapped up in a few sentences. Trust God, clean house, work with others. And then that whole thing is contributing. That whole thing is being a part of, because for fucking 2 decades, actually 3 if you count my childhood, it was being apart from. Early it was to be apart from the assault, or to be apart from the pain. And then in my adolescence and young adulthood, it was just to be apart from because I hated everything. Now, did I hate everything or did I hate myself? That's academic. Probably both. But one of the things that I had to drop real fast, and I did that at some point was this victim mentality. The world was doing things to me. The world never did a fucking thing to me. Life is simply life. It's not fair or unfair. It's not just or unjust. Life is just life.
That's very stoic. You know, a lot of people don't. I don't think a lot of people realize it. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is based in Stoic philosophy. It's kind of a Western form of Buddhism. Yeah,
If you're a victim, you're never going to get well. That's
of course,
what I was
yeah.
told.
Yeah, victim mentality. Yeah, you're always fucked.
If you're a victim, then you have no power over a situation. If you're a victim, then you are unable to do anything about it because you are being victimized. The only person that I was a victim of was myself.
For sure.
There were choices that I made as a child, and there were choices that were made externally of me as a child that I had no say in. I didn't get to decide for my father to be gone. I didn't get to decide for my mother to be a prostitute. I didn't get to decide for me to grow up in crack houses and motels. But I did decide, am I going to hold on to those things? Or am I going to let those things define me?
Yeah.
And I'm not. I mean, they're a part of my life, but if you stop looking at time as a linear thing, if you just kind of go with... So time is linear, but life is not. Everybody has peaks and valleys. They have experiences, both good and bad, depending on how you use them. And like I said, I got everything back from recovery. If someone is on the fence with this thing, if they don't think it works, or if they're struggling with this thing, try harder. Or just give up. Just fucking stop fighting. I know a lot of people right now, probably some people that I actually know, who are putting a ball in their mouth, putting a needle in their arm. Or, I mean, it's 2020. They might be plugging something up their ass, too. I mean, people do drugs all kinds of ways.
Yeah.
I'm not judging.
Well, hell yeah. Meth being most combustible.
Yeah. And, but yeah, the illness doesn't care. I did not have a drug problem. I just didn't. I had a drug solution. Drugs were my solution for years. So when the book says that we had to, do you have a substitute, and do you have a substitute? And in Vision for You they say we do, and it is vastly more than that. I'm not addressing a drug problem. I am replacing a solution that no longer works. Methamphetamine and marijuana. I'm not getting on the debate about whether weed is a drug or not. I don't give a fuck. It was for me.
It smells great.
I didn't care how it smelled.
Yeah,
And these were my solutions for years. They stopped working. They were never going to work again, so I had to supplant them with something that does work. Because the problem is not drugs. The problem is not drugs, money, sex, rock and roll, cars, anything like that. The problem is Ian. And so to address that problem, I had to have a better solution. And the solution that I have found that works is the one located in the big book. I have no opinion on outside things when it comes to recovery. If people choose to do recovery another way, more power to you.
The big book of, well, the
Yeah.
big book, yep, I got to read here. That was your way. That was your route.
And they even say, we know but a little, more will be revealed. We don't have a monopoly on this thing. So,
yeah. It works for millions, though. It says it. I mean, you know, it's good stuff.
it is.
So you had a turning point in your life. You worked the 12 steps. You applied some principles. How has your life? How have things changed for the better? You know, what's your perspective on life now?
Well, like I said, I got a bunch of shit back. Like I've got the car, I've got the house, I've got all that stuff. But that's...
Do you have a purpose?
Yeah. Just to watch Knight Rider.
I was going to say, what kind of fucking question is that, Jeff? Do you have a purpose? I'm just playing.
This is my indignation guy. Like, some people have a wing guy, and some people have, like Fall Guy. This is my indignation guy.
For sure, man.
Yeah. Damn, Skippy.
No. I do have a purpose. I have a primary purpose. Stay sober and about alcoholics to achieve sobriety.
Which
And
a
that
lot of
sounds
you-
cliche.
But a lot of people, man, don't have, they're wandering around, they don't have a purpose in life. They really don't. It's either they're consuming shit, they're buying shit, or watching shit.
And that's the sad truth about it too. You know,
you have to have a purpose. It can be a simple purpose.
someone
too.
within a rifle range of what we're talking about right now will die and not even know what's wrong with them.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what my purpose is. My purpose is to help people who have less than. Because I had less than, and I want to be the person that I wish had been there for me. Because I didn't have backup when I was a kid. And there's no victim shit attached to it. Those were just the circumstances that I had. And I would have preferred somebody to have my back then. But since I can't go back in time,
Change things.
I can be somebody else's backup. And I find a life that is centered around the accumulation of things. I need to buy this fancy watch. The Apple Watch was a gift.
It's completely fucking hollow. I totally agree with you. It's completely.
Which is with a red knob.
Yeah. It doesn't have the red outline. It doesn't have the red outline.
Oh, okay. Damn.
Yeah, it's a
Purpose-driven life is everything, dude. I have over the last 10 years, I've learned to be so minimal. You know, I need very few things to keep me happy. Yeah, for sure. I'm right there with you on that.
Well, happiness is an inside job.
Definitely.
I know people who have a lot of physical stuff. They have the fancy car, they have the fancy house, they have the fancy partner, they have the fancy job. And they look at that fucking pill bottle, they look at that pistol they have in that fancy little safe with its pearl handle.
Okay.
And they look at it and they go, why not? Nobody will miss me. Nobody will care.
Yeah.
I hate it here.
Miserable.
Yeah.
Miserable as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that external shit doesn't fix the inside problem.
Right.
And it took a lot of pain. It took a lot of ass whooping for me to realize that.
Yeah.
Happiness doesn't come. Happiness doesn't just show up. You do have to work for it.
I remember joking with some of my guys about buying a new pair of kicks and not working a program. It'll at least keep me sober for about a week and a half, depending on if they're Nike Air 30s, you know, or 90s. Just depended, right? At least a week.
You Southern guys always talking about like these Jordans and athletic shoes. Man, I want some Yves Saint Laurent fucking lace-up boots, bro. $1,800.
With tube socks.
Yes.
Yes.
Fuck, dude, I own
I just
three.
pictured it, that's all.
I own
I'm
3
aware.
pairs of shoes. They're Merrells. I have a pair of trail runners, I have a pair of hikers, and I have a pair of flip flops from Walmart. That's it.
That's
Look
my
at that.
boot.
Now that is a boot you don't want up your ass right
Yeah,
there.
if you just met his boot, would you get a definition of kind of like, would you define it, like if you just saw his boot there and we just put his boot there, would you guys be able to understand characteristics? I know I would.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, and so I'm going to give up the game on myself on this one.
Well, hell yeah.
I'm actually a teddy bear. I have a persona that I carry around in AA. I have a persona that I wear into meetings because I use it as a filter.
Yeah.
You got to weed out the weak ones. But I'm actually a teddy bear. And when I start to work with guys, I tell them I'm not the guy that wants you to call me every 5 minutes. If you're deciding whether it's between Starbucks or McDonald's, I don't give a shit.
I'm here to teach you the 12 steps.
I'm not here to teach anything.
Yeah.
I'm not here to
Okay.
teach anything. I'm here as a bouncing board, and I'm here to give you my experience. I'm not licensed to teach AA. I'm not licensed to teach AA. I am somewhat qualified to sit down with a big book and go over, this is what I did to stay sober. This is what I did to get that monkey on my back. And in regards to what the biggest change in my life is, I no longer have that monkey on my back. All the material shit could come and go. But I don't wake up going, man, I need to hustle up $100 to get this party going. Because I know once I get $100, then I'll be able to get that gram, shoot that motherfucker.
And then hustle another 100.
Yeah, and then as soon as I'm going, then I can get going. I don't have that.
Betcha.
I don't have that struggle anymore. I don't think about using. I don't think about drugs. When I'm in meetings, I do because I'm talking about it.
Not fantasizing, but just
No.
talking about it.
Yeah,
So-
just you have to. I can't like talk about a car and not think of a car.
Correct. There you go.
So those of you don't know Ian, what I found out is he's kind of an artist. Speaking of purposes and things that float your boat, non-materialistic things. Tell us about some of your hobby, man. What do you do to make life enjoyable for yourself? I know you're working with a lot of other people, man. You sponsor a lot of guys. Do you know that?
So what I do to bring happiness into my life is I sit inside of a 4x4 closet with the lights off and I just stare blankly into the abyss.
On a computer screen. Right?
No, just lights off.
So relatable.
Just total sensory deprivation.
Oh, you're into the sensory deprivation.
meditation.
I am lying.
Have you been to one of those float tanks yet?
I am lying to you.
Thank you, God, Ian.
No.
You look like a moron. I was over there like, you too?
I make a lot of memes. I make a lot of memes.
I do. Yeah,
Honest to God.
Yeah.
I find it to be very funny. I make a lot of political memes.
Zing this.
I make music. I do a lot of digital photography. I own my own business. That was one of the funny things when I got out of prison. Kroger's wouldn't hire me. I went to Kroger's. So I've been in IT for 18 years. So at that point, it would have been 8 years that I've been in the business. And I took my resume up to Kroger's, and they wouldn't hire me to put groceries in a bag. I've been in professional corporate level IT help desk tier 3, which is where you're certified to do like infrastructure.
Okay. Yeah.
And they wouldn't hire me. So I'm discouraged. I walked outside and I said, "Fuck this shit." So I went out, fucking made my own website, came up with a name for my business, and the next week I went and got a DBA. And I've been in business ever since. And it turned from a business into a like hobby business type thing, because I also build custom gaming computers. I don't know.
Did you discover those, like, because for me, before I got sober, I didn't really know what the hell, what the hell I really enjoyed, or because it came to the point where I could see it, like with baseball and shit when I was younger, I like baseball, but eventually that all started to deteriorate as far as the memory of that being appealing to me, because I didn't give a shit, to be honest with you. It was what my shit led me to. I didn't care about anything other than getting high, right? And getting the next high. So when I started to get sober, eventually what happened with me is when I put that first, right? I had to put that first before I could get anything else and discover really who the fuck I was, because I didn't really know who the fuck I was and what I was gonna like. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Was that true for you too, or?
Yes and no. So sports was never going to be a thing for me. I don't have depth perception. You need two eyes. You need two eyes to perceive 3D. So, and I've had some funny experiences where people will invite me out to a movie and they'll pre-order the tickets and they hand me these goggles and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And I like watch the movie going, man, I'm getting dizzy. And so I was in middle school and I tried to play football for the first time because I'm a big guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a small person.
No, you're
And they were like, Ian, go long, having zero idea what that meant. I assumed it meant run in the direction that his arm did, so I started running down the field. He throws this fucking pointy ball. It's football's
Pointy ball.
And I'm watching this bastard zoom over me, and I imagine myself, because I've seen videos of people play football, so you jump up and you hold it, and then the crowd cheers, and I knew that's what was going to happen, so my chunky ass jumps up, and that ball sails about 40 feet over my head. And as I landed on my feet, so did all my dreams of ever playing any sports again. I was like, well, I'm not doing that shit. I'm bad at it. If I'm not good at it from the get-go, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. I picture Uncle Rico scene or something for something.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
So here's something I want to know about you.
I make art, I make music, and I do a lot of like social commentary. I do self-help videos on, not self-help, I do positive, uplifting videos on YouTube.
He has a YouTube channel, so that's It's all catharsis, right? It's very cathartic, yeah, for sure. So you had a pretty isolated upbringing. I mean, obviously you're articulate with words, and you're pretty good. And so, how did you overcome the social situations, the social anxieties? I spent a lot of time in my room growing up too, in my own little world. So,
Lysergic acid diethamide.
LSD broke you out of your shell, huh?
No, honest to God. I mean, I'm not extolling I'm not saying if you're having trouble speaking in meetings, go out and do a bunch of acid, but
Yeah, no, I understand.
there was a formative time from about 2006 to 2008, right before I started diving into crack and doing all this other craziness, where I was doing a lot of party drugs. And all of a sudden, my brain started getting rewired into this is how you interact. You got to be outgoing. You have to be this, that, and the other. Whether you're having fun or not, you still have to put forth the face. And
How you feel?
I learned it was a very ghetto rigged way of learning how to do social interaction. And there are still times like recovery based social interactions. I'm good. Because I can talk about the process, I can talk about my experience with it. But if it's like out and about, hey, how are you doing today? And I'm like,
That's exactly. Yeah.
I'm here.
I have a standard answer. Same old. Nobody really fucking knows how you're doing. Oh, hey, how you doing? Nobody really wants to fucking know. That's just like a greeting, right? So I just give them a
Maybe they
blase
do,
answer.
but-
Same old.
Even with my family, bro,
It's
I
just
feel
call
alienated
it-
with my own family, my own flesh and blood. I think y'all make me more comfortable and know me better than my own family.
What I do is I just stare at them.
Uncomfortably.
Just like
Big
this.
dude dressed
Yeah,
all
you
in
just
black
got-
and glasses.
Just like, yeah.
And they go, okay, no, I'm joking. I mean, it was the vocabulary and the learning how to talk in public and learning how to interact with my voice was all game that you had to learn growing up on the streets. If you're a hustler, you gotta hustle. You gotta learn how to gauge people. You have to learn how to this is what this person says, so come up with some bullshit. You gotta learn to think on your feet.
Body
And so-
language.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can tell that you're feeling me, and that's okay. No
I love
judgment. Yeah.
Yeah,
Whoa,
it's okay.
A little early.
No judgment, all right? How long we been on? All right, chill out, bro.
And the vocabulary came. I was beat to shit if I didn't enunciate.
Yeah.
I was not allowed to mumble. I was not allowed to mispronounce words. You had to know the difference between there, and there.
Your education was literally beating your ass. Yeah.
Yes. Not something I would recommend, but it was effective in this situation. Now, like I said, not an ideal way to educate someone, but it was effective.
Yeah, for sure. So what I'm learning is this facade is exactly what you said, a filter. You're really just kind of a closet artist.
Yeah,
Kind of
I'm just a big old taker.
empathetic. I am definitely a closet artist.
I'm
man.
over here
That's-
trying to figure out how to not lean in so much anymore now. I appreciate that statement. Ooh, hell yeah.
Yes.
I've
This
been
is
waiting
not-
a whole hour for this.
This is not social distancing.
Yeah.
We are not following CDC recommended guidelines.
Damn it. We
Disclaimer.
Got, we got, you know. Thank you.
So what are the questions we got? What other anecdotes?
Anecdotal type questions.
So I wanted to ask you your firm resolution when you were kind of going back to when you said that you had that experience where you're like, look, man, I'm done, right? And for me, I had a couple of those experiences. You said it wasn't your first time that you actually thought that you actually said,
Right.
I'm done with this. And you see, the thing is, you fucking meant it too, right? You meant it with everything, every fiber in your being, I'm sure. Given whatever the circumstances from what you told me, right? And so I have a few of step one, I call them experiences or whatever, where I knew that I was basically fucked, right? And it was a spiritual experience, right? But it wasn't a good one, and I didn't understand. The whole spiritual realm quite yet in that moment. But looking back on it, I see that. And when I knew that I was fucked, I still, even after I said to myself, and I told my girl, I was crying, I was never going to do that shit again, when I got out, and then we had the self-pity, right, and then, going to a sober house right after I get out, and, I just was locked up for, why the hell am I going here, blah, 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 now I got my prison buddies now, and hey, Kyle, anyway, long story short, I did it again, a week later. after I had made that resolution not to, right? And I thought I had it all figured out.
In Bill's story, he says, "In fear." So, fun fact about the big book: just like with the encyclopedias, and just like with the anatomy books and the dictionaries that I read as a kid, and all these technical manuals. I've read the fuck out of technical manuals. When I was introduced to the big book, I read it like a textbook, which is what it's written as. It's a textbook. It is a guidebook on how to restructure your life. Because that's what the fundamental is. You need to restructure what the fuck you are. And so I read this. I read the big book, and I instantly took issue with one thing, out of several, which all of them except for this one thing still, like this one thing still bugs me. I think that Dr. Bob's nightmare should be where Bill's story is. Because I like Dr. Bob's nightmare better.
Yeah, I hated Bill's story. It fucking sucked.
I've never heard a more flowery, self-absorbed, pompous asshole, or read a more flowery, self-absorbed, pompous asshole in my life than reading Bill's story.
You think he was the ass doctor?
Thank you.
There you go.
He was
Are you feeling me
the
now?
Cosmo Kramer. He was the ass man.
Are you feeling me now, Ian? Are you feeling me?
Come here, puppy. But there's a part in Bill's story where he says first sobered him up for a bit, but it was not enough. And he got sober out of fear because it was impossible for him now to ignore what was happening in his life. But unless you change things, it's not enough. The problem was I got real comfortable with my life real fast, and I stopped doing the things that gave me that life to be comfortable with. I started putting everything else in front of my recovery. All of a sudden, the girlfriend was more important, or the house was more important,
Or your job.
or the job. And it's the same thing. Everybody does the same thing when they relapse. If they've gone through the process, everybody does the same thing. They start deprioritizing their recovery. A person will stay sober if they do the things to stay sober. I've been around for 2 decades. I've never seen in those 2 decades anybody just inadvertently get drunk. Working a great program, in constant contact with whoever the fuck they call God, working with others, going to meetings. I've never seen them just, I'm gonna drink. There's always something that's not being addressed. Because why the fuck would I replace this solution that works, that affords me a place to live, sanity, a car, clothes, a little more waste than I want, but whatever. Why the fuck would I replace that with a needle full of fucking toilet water and bathtub meth in a stop-and-go bathroom?
Did you just say toilet water?
Like you've never done that. Don't get higher than that.
It's a good thing. It's an inside thing with actually the whole channel, so it's okay.
You gotta pull up what you got. You gotta pull up what you got.
Yeah.
And
that's exactly Fiesta. It was a party.
I would not do that if I was doing what I needed to do.
Right.
And the reason that I did do that in the past was because I stopped doing things. I stopped going to meetings. I stopped calling my sponsor. I stopped answering my sponsor's phone calls. And a relapse is when a person drinks, that's not a relapse. That's not a relapse. That's not active alcoholism. You are now treating your alcoholism with something. It's not untreated alcoholism. Because you're treating your alcoholism. You're just treating it with alcohol now. Or you're treating it with meth, or you're treating it with heroin, or you're treating it with whatever.
Toilet water.
Untreated alcoholism is that dry shit. Where you're restless, irritable, discontent, you've got the bedevilment still in full force, and I will get there if I stop treating my illness with AA, in my experience. Maybe that'll change. I'm not too fucking worried about it because we're not at maybe yet. But yeah, no, I know that where you think you're on top of the world, but the thing is, if you don't... So you know anything about Mount Everest?
Yeah.
Well, Jeremiah does.
So you know the tallest mountain in the world. The peak of Mount Everest is only about the size of a ping pong table.
Yeah, it's a small summit.
And the climb up there, you're walking on what's basically the width of this table.
Yeah.
it takes
The
physical.
Hillary step.
Yeah, it takes physical effort to stay on the summit once you get there. Same thing. If I'm on top of the world, I've got to work to stay up there.
Right.
Otherwise, I will roll my ass back down that mountain. And I'm just not interested in doing that.
So what you're saying is we have a formula, right? So it's almost like if you were
No, I freeformed this whole thing.
well, free formula or free
No.
form?
Yeah, if you want free formula,
I was getting to the spatula. Make sense? With the cake and the formula? No? Ingredients, baking the cake,
you
sheet cake.
use a formula to bake cake?
Don't you?
Like
Yeah.
Similac?
I don't think. Wait.
I'm talking about
You're
baby formula.
baby formula. That's cool. Now, I've had that in some shit before.
That's a whole different flavor profile.
That's a fuck you
yes.
over profile.
There's definitely a formula to staying sober. Because there was a
and you
formula.
need it all, though. You need it all. You
Yeah.
can't just pick and choose what you want.
Well, I had a sponsee, and I still do, I think. We got him done with the steps, and I remember him proudly saying, I'm finally done with the steps. And I was like, "Are you got any sponsees yet?" He's like, "Well, not yet." And I was like, "Then you ain't done with the steps." I don't work with an 11-step program. I work with a 12 one. So when you start sponsoring people and making those amends, then you're working a 12-step program. But I figure we're short on time now, huh?
We can keep going.
Daniel said 10 minutes,
Right
and then
there.
somebody else
We are
said
the
5.
masters of our own universe
five.
here.
Right
we
there.
can,
That's dangerous.
We can go for hours if we want to.
Well, Jeremiah, you were over there falling asleep a little bit, man.
I am
Are
boring.
you sipping on Grandpa's cough medicine over there?
I am very boring.
No, him.
No, this is great, guys.
So no, it's safe. It's safe to say, and through my own experience, putting anything I put in front of my own sobriety is pretty much the first thing that's going to get fucked off. And my last relapse was work. Sure enough, what did I do? I lost my job.
Now, Ian, isn't it difficult, bro, to not call somebody out? And it's called checking under other people's inventory. Now, you can see it that you've recovered, right? I think that we recover, right? I don't think recovered. For me, it just sounds bad. For me, like recovering, as far like when recovering my whole life, I feel like it says in the book, recovered for a reason, right? And so recovered, what that means to me is that I've overcome a hopeless state of mind and body, right? And so that being said, when you are recovered and you look and you talk to other alcoholics and addicts and you deal with them and you can see, you can spot, right? Because you got it, you have the cliches, you spot it because you got it and shit like that, which I do agree with, right? Is it frustrating for you to see just like, it's like you want to grab their hand, right? And you want to help them and you want to just shake the shit out of them and say, you're doing it this way, even though it's suggestive only. You ever find yourself at times to just say, you have no idea, man, this is such a miracle. If it worked for me, it can work. Like, I was frantic, bro. When I was free, when I had the obsession removed, man, I hit the ground running, bro. Because I thought every single person on the face of this earth deserved to have a chance like I did. You know what I mean? And so, with that being said, to convince somebody, right, to hey, man, look, it's easy. And then they see him go bang their head with a hammer and see him go back again. It's very I understand it, but it's still at the same time frustrating. You know, I've lost a lot of people, a lot of friends that I was really close to, right? And especially since I've been sober, you know, when they talk about you got to wear a black suit, right? Because you're going to go to some funerals, right? I guess what I'm getting at, man, is I guess I can see the manifestations like you were talking about. It's not just the alcohol or drugs that we consume that's a relapse. It's long before that. They talk about way before we even actually relapse with the substances. We relapse here,
Yep.
right? And we can see that though, right? Like I have buddies of mine that I can see it, and I can pull them up and say, look, bro, you're being a douchebag right now, bro. Like this.
Yeah.
What?
I was calling him a douchebag.
Oh yeah, we know that already. He's not even my buddy. Like that.
Yeah.
No, I'm just playing. No, but do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like isn't it frustrating at times though, man? Like, do you still have that? Do you still have that feeling like when?
So I'll address because you actually asked two questions without knowing.
Tangents.
I sidestepped that whole recovering addict, alcoholic. I sidestepped all that bullshit That's an academic argument. I'm an addict. I say my name is Ian Black and I'm an addict. And I am an addict, but I'm recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm an addict. So I'm still being honest, and I'm still practicing integrity, and I'm still speaking the truth, but I'm not getting involved in that recovering. Yes, the forwards do say recovered, and I'm about that. But I don't like to add contention where it's not necessary.
It's a gray area.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's also to each their own. I don't give a fuck what somebody says after their name.
And it's to your own, thy own self be true. It goes back to that, right?
And that answers your second question. Do I feel that need to become an evangelical in regards to AA? No. I love people. Even if it's sometimes hard for me to convey and it's sometimes hard for people to see, I will help anybody.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you decide that after I put forth effort or whatever into you and you decide that you want to stick a needle in your arm, okay. I'll be here when you get back.
It's supposed to happen.
I don't know about supposed to happen, but whether it does or not is not my power. I don't have a say in it.
Well, yeah, not supposed to happen. I meant whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I can offer you the door, but it's your choice if you want to go through it.
Right.
And ultimately, if it's not that I don't give a shit about the choices people make, it's that
You gotta let people make their own choice.
yeah,
You gotta leave them where they're at.
there are people that have been sober, who got sober with me back in like OG, like 2004, 2005,
Yeah.
still sober. And we one of them and I had lunch today, breaking total quarantine break. We went and got banh mi's. It was badass. Also, if you think that you're in a lockdown, you're not. What the fuck? Anyway, this guy watched me get sober, and he had to watch me do a bunch of dumb shit. I robbed his fucking family, and that's what got me a theft charge. We were brothers in this thing, and I fucked him over, and I did all kinds of dumb shit. He had to watch me crash and burn a few times. And now life is to where we get to have lunch together. Shit works itself out. Now, when people die, when they make that choice, that's also the gamble we take. That's the terrifying part about a relapse.
Right.
You don't know where it's going to
Whereas
end.
how far deep down the rabbit hole you're gonna go with that.
Right.
Down to the ultimate abyss of a rabbit hole.
Which would be ending up buck-ass naked at a Walmart.
I was thinking more like dead, but
I really don't like Walmart.
yeah, I guess sometimes going to
I used to get
Walmart
a
could
lot
be
of
about
nice
as bad as
lights
dead.
there. Okay, well, we gotta wrap it up now. Daniel's doing this whole motion, so that's my buddy over there. He's the time man. Oh, yes, and the hope dealer. For
I
sure.
have to go home.
That's it. Yes.
I have to
Yeah,
piss,
absolutely.
so this actually got some time.
Well, yeah, what is that, number 2 right there, sir?
Yeah.
Number 2, not the piss, but the coffee.
Yes.
Piss would be a kidney stone.
Well,
right?
and also the 2 bottles of water and the Starbucks that Tina brought me.
Hell yeah. But man, Ian, thank you, bro. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming up here about 3.5 hours ago. We appreciate you waiting on.
This is me on all that coffee.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Dead
No,
solid.
he's just still, bro.
Like a fucking surgeon.
Hell yeah.
ADHD, bud. Hell yeah.
I appreciate
All
you
right,
having
Ian.
me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Love
you
you
very
very
much.
Hell yeah.
Guys, thanks for tuning in to Houston Recovery Radio. We're we're doing the deal every day and trying to get better and better and better at this.
Experience, strength, and hope.
Exactly.
Dan Skippy.
See you next time.
we are.
Peace out, freaks.